Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. I am your co-host, Darth Salim.
And I am your main host, the Artificial Dragon. And welcome back to another wonderful episode of a podcast, everybody. The 4th of July is literally around the corner. Well, okay, Father's Day is also like a couple days away, too.
Of course, you gotta celebrate your dad before you celebrate the birth of the country.
That is also very, very true. Obviously, this episode will be uploaded way after Father's Day, but happy late Father's Day to all of your fathers out there and all the general fathers that have to deal with your little pipsqueaks every day.
Vader.
Well, yeah. Happy Father's Day to Vader and technically Luke with Kylo Ren with their sons cutting their arms off and everything. It's just a traditional Skywalker family tradition.
Oh, yes.
You can't be a Skywalker unless you lob one of your arms off.
That's why Rey isn't a Skywalker.
Yeah, very true. But anyway, I'm just going to go through the Patreon real quickly. So if you guys love the podcast, go ahead and support us on our Patreon at patreon.com/canmail. Once again, that's patreon.com/canmail, where you could contribute to any amount, and for any tier that you donate to, you have instant access to our Discord server, where you could talk to us, discuss general Star Wars lore, bring up episode topics, suggestions, or just talk about general memes here and there.
Get access to the fan art that we have.
Yep, and as we said in the previous fan service art pieces, which, as we all know for this month, is Duchess Satine of Mandalore and General Kenobi showing his nice assets under there.
Also, support my blog.
Support Darth Saline's blog, yeah. Which is generic as hell.
I know, I have yet to come up with a name. I will come up with a name, but please support it. Send me asks. It always helps.
Yeah, which is always a nice thing to do. Just...
enough with the plugging.
Yeah, enough of a plugging. Just make sure to support our content. We always appreciate the support that you give us, whether it's monetary or a comment, a like, that sort of thing. I'm not going to do the YouTube thing every single time.
We're not selling out this time.
Yeah, we'll sell out when we can get ourselves a sponsor in the near future, but we'll see. We always appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoy this lovely short episode that we have going on here.
Tell me, Isaac, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about I wouldn't say a highly important race of Star Wars, like obviously humans are the important ones around here, but
supposedly.
But yeah, they are a very common race in the Star Wars galaxy. I think almost every movie has these guys in them.
I think you would have to look, but
I'm not too sure about the sequel trilogy because, whatever. But pretty much every single source of Star Wars media has them in there. And in this case, we will be talking about the Bith.
Bith.
Yeah, Bith. It's kind of funny because every time I always write them in my document, it always autocorrects to birth.
I thought it would have corrected to bitch.
It's no swear words, autocorrect no swear words. But like the Bith, they're not, as I mentioned before, they're not that important of a race, but they're significant enough to be in almost every single part of Star Wars media. Mm-hmm. Like, anytime you go into a cantina...
They're a background race.
Yeah, they're a background race. Like, every time you go to a cantina, a restaurant, or anywhere where you socialize, you're going to see a Bith in the background, either as a crowd filler character or just playing the band and everything.
Yeah, a jizz whaler.
Yeah, the jizz whaler. Yeah, we got to do an episode about Star Wars instruments.
Yes, jizz whaler is actually a background you can take in Star Wars 5e.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
I still need to figure out which episode that was when we did a D&D session, and Jake was all like, "What?"
Insert clip here when you find it.
When I find it, yeah, motherfucker. It was so fucking funny.
Now I need to figure out how to make a jizz whaler.
That would be kind of funny. It would be like have you ever watched the mariachi movies?
I know, but I understand like mariachi bands and stuff.
Okay, so I think it's the very first. I'm sorry to go off topic, but I gotta say this.
It's fun.
It's one of the first movies directed by, I believe, Quentin Tarantino with a very limited budget. But point is, there's this mariachi who wants to make a name for himself, but his briefcase got swapped out with an infamous criminal who also has a mariachi case, but it's full of guns.
Wasn't this with Antonio Banderas?
I believe so, yeah.
I think I've seen it.
That
Or
could-
at least the beginning part.
I think that would be a great starting inspiration point for a jizz player.
Oh, yeah. Now you gotta make an NPC.
Oh, absolutely. The Mariacha, the Jizz Whaler Biff, who's also an undercover assassin. Okay, that's a good idea for a bounty hunter character,
Write
actually.
that down, write that down!
Write it down! But yeah, back to the actual meat of the episode. So yeah, we will be talking about the Bith. As you see, they are like a big-headed alien race. Like, I think they're like one of the few background races that look the least human.
They're pretty freaky.
Yeah, like, if you look at other races like the Togruta, the Twi'lek, or what's another good example? I guess the Maraluka, and all those other races, they look somewhat human. Maybe some different variations, like with the Togruta and the Twi'lek with the head tails, but these guys do not at all look human.
Yeah, they have big black Solace eyes.
Yeah. They look very similar to your classical gray aliens that you see in classic sci-fi back in the day. So yeah, let me get into the Bith. They are a highly evolved craniopod race native to the planet of Clak'dor 7, also simply called Bith. Yeah, I know, the classic trope of naming their homeworlds after their own race.
Mandalore did it.
You know, that is a fair point. So yeah, Clak'dor 7 was found within the Kello system of the Outer Rim, being the 7th planet orbiting the large white star called Kello, and it possessed no moons. And Clak'dor 7 is 9,881 kilometers across, very similar to Earth's 12,756 kilometers. It has a 26-hour day and night cycle, so slightly longer than Earth's.
A little bit longer.
Yeah. It has an orbital period of 647 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's way longer. I think that's like twice as long as Earth's orbital period, which is like
365.
Yeah, thank you. And it has a type-free atmosphere. Basically, there's a chart, like there's type 1, there's type 2 atmospheres. Type 3 is basically toxic to, you know, air-breathing species where they require gas mask and everything.
Like Plo Koon.
Yeah. And the planet has a population of 3.4 billion, with 99% of that being Bith and the 1% being, you know, any other race. And Clak'dor 7 has jungles and swamps upon its surface, inhabited by many fauna that inspire the Bith's fascination with music.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, I believe there's like a turtle out there that makes a little droning sound that sounds like an alto bass.
That sounds cool.
It is pretty cool. There are a lot of... okay, there's not too much lore on the wildlife of Clak'dor 7, but the one creature that actually has an appearance is called the Guk. It's literally spelled Ghhhk. Yeah. I know, it's really weird. But yeah, let me just send you a image of his weird thing. It's really, really bizarre.
Ew! That looks like a ball of snot.
Yeah,
With eyes.
That right there is basically the apex predator of that planet.
Ew.
And it's so famous, it's represented as a chess piece on Dejaric.
Really?
Yep.
That thing doesn't look like it could hurt a fly.
But no, it's the...
It just looks like a moving lump of snot with 4 arms.
No, that's legitimately the apex predator of their world and everything. You would also not think that because the Bith actually use a gek. They basically extract they milk oil off of it,
Ew.
which could be used for, healing and everything.
Ew.
Yeah, I know. A lot of weird, bizarre things on Clak'dor 7. But yeah, let me see if... okay. The Bith grew to become, obviously, the dominant race on their entire planet, like us, humans, dominating everything to our will and everything. And basically making the apex predators of a world their bitch and everything. The Bith would create great cities within the mountains and jungles of Clak'dor 7. And each one of these cities, basically, they are your classical feudal society, city-states, like the Greeks and everything.
Okay.
So,
But like ancient China.
yeah, that's a better comparison, I believe. Okay. So the Bith are characterized by their large cranium heads, obviously. Large...
They kind of look like butts.
Yeah. The ass, man. Large lidless eyes, toeless feet, and long fingers with large finger pads at the end and cross-hatched fingerprints.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Both of their thumb and small finger, which is it says small finger, but I believe they meant the pinky and everything.
Okay.
Both of these are opposable.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
We have those too.
This is just a quirky detail, but I think the point is they're trying to point out they're extra dexterous in their fingers and everything.
Okay.
Bith possess only one lung and exhaled through their skin like insects. They also lacked a proper nose, as you probably can tell, obviously.
Their mouths look pretty good.
Yeah. Instead, though, they have highly sensitive olfactory organs hidden within the skin flaps of their cheeks. They also have a surprisingly wide variety of colors, from green, pink, pale, red, and the most common being yellow.
I think I've seen a few Bith in SWTOR.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place in SWTOR too.
I think I've seen one on Balmora.
Oh. Yeah.
That's the one that popped into my head. I don't know where, I don't know when.
Yeah,
I don't know what story.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bith in SWTOR, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
Bith are children from the ages of 1 to 11, young adults from 12 to 15, adults from 16 to 50, middle-aged from 51 to 70, old from 71 to 85, and venerable from 85 onwards.
So they could live past 85?
They could. I think the venerable is basically like, hey, if you're older than this, then how the fuck are you still alive?
Yeah.
But they have similar lifespans to humans, basically. But
okay.
With the
they just become adults earlier.
Yeah, not as early as a chiz, which is like 10, but yeah, pretty earlier than usual.
Yeah, like 16 in our society is still a child.
Oh yeah, and they would be in like high school or middle school by then.
High school is 16.
Yeah. Their large eyes are capable of picking up a large range of wavelengths and sounds in the same way other races can sense colors.
So they see colors.
Yep, they literally see colors.
I can see all the colors.
And they are...
I smell them.
Yeah, and they are so acute that they could pick up microscopic details of nearby objects.
Holy shit.
But due to this acuity, they are nearsighted.
Ooh.
So they probably need glasses to help them and everything.
I'm nearsighted, so
Yep.
it's like I'm holding my hand a half an inch away from my face, and I
Yep.
can still see it clearly. But that's how nearsighted I am.
Yeah. Though due to their incredible senses, they have the unfortunate side effect of having sensitive ears, with loud sounds causing them a great deal of pain.
Hey, that sounds like me too.
Yeah, it's been a while since we watched any of the not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But do you remember that one scene where there was this deaf kid? And,
Oh yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, and Freddy Krueger pierced his ears so he could actually hear.
To amplify the sound, and then he
Yep.
scratched his glove on a chalkboard.
That's basically what it's like for a Bith.
Oof.
I would imagine.
Decent movie, by the way.
Yeah, it was a okay movie.
For the later movies that got schlockier, it's okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's Freddy's Dead. That's that one.
Yeah. I gotta get around to rewatching the Nightmare on Elm Street movies one of these days.
First one is the greatest.
Oh, absolutely. First one is always the greatest. For any horror movie, anyway. Where was I? And it is also believed that due to their sensitive hearing, sonic weapons can cause their heads to explode.
Ooh.
However, that fortunately is a myth.
Okay, good.
It would probably be extremely painful, but it wouldn't explode them like a tick.
That's good.
It would be a very gory scene to witness, yeah. But yeah, Bith also have high manual dexterity, which gives them a better advantage in manipulating fine tools. Though their prowess with gross motor skills is only average.
Okay, so they have better fine motor skills over gross motor skills.
Yeah, pretty much. I would imagine, obviously they're great at engineering and everything, but I could foresee a Bith being a great surgeon.
Oh, yeah, they're really good with their hands. That's why they're so good at playing instruments.
Yeah, you gotta have flexible fingers to go through all those notes and everything.
And they probably have good calluses on their fingers.
Yeah, I should know this because the only reason I played trumpet in high school is because it had free notes on it. So yeah, good for the Bith anyway. Okay, and ironically enough, much like elves, Bith have evolved past the need to sleep, unlike other races.
Holy shit.
Instead, they engage in light meditative trances.
Just like elves.
Yep, pretty much.
In D&D.
Which allows them to rest within 4 hours.
That's just like a trance in D&D.
Yeah, so they just hum in place.
I would love to do that. That way I wouldn't actually have to sleep.
Sleep, what's that?
Exactly. Sleep is for the weak.
For all college student, we're all like, sleep, what's that?
Or young working adults.
That's also fair. Even in this trance, Bith are still almost fully aware of their surroundings. Almost, like D&D elves and everything. Though one of the more unique and arguably disturbing aspects of the Bith is that their reproductive organs had atrophied over time, as did the portions of their brain that produced those pleasures.
So, go on.
So basically, they don't have a dong down there.
No. I can't.
Yeah, they're all like, sex, what's that?
They're as anatomically correct as Ken dolls.
Pretty much.
Oh, God.
Through this, the Bith could not reproduce naturally, and instead relied upon a artificial conceptual and gestation chamber.
Okay, so outward fetuses.
Yep. Since the Bith lacked any sense of pleasure from intimate relationships, they would depend on a program called the Computer Mating Service to help assign them to their prospective mate that would generate the favored child pattern by taking and matching the DNA of both partners to conceive a new child within a year.
Yay, eugenics!
Yay, eugenics!
Good God.
Yeah, it's just that general aspect where the obviously it doesn't go into detail of how they, lost that down there, but it's just the idea that they're in such a utopian-esque society that they don't feel the need to engage in pleasures that would distract them.
That honestly sounds like the plot of Gattaca.
Yeah.
But it's more, have sex but choose your child's genes.
Yeah.
Make them the best person they can be. Holy shit.
And the Bith have two known subspecies, which are called the Yibith and the Alligar. We'll talk a little bit about the Yibith later, but the Alligar, we know almost nothing about them. They lived on the isolated islands in the oceans of Clak'dor 7, and are known only for their unique form of communication that involved tying knots of string to convey elaborate symbiology.
Interesting.
So basically, they keep a record of their literal string of ancestry through this string language.
Huh.
And it eventually evolved into much more complex patterns, like literally a sentence of that user.
That's interesting, but that's so confusing on how that would work. You'd run out of knots.
Well, I mean, that's true, but a lot of ancient cultures have engaged in that practice, like the Inca,
Yeah, true.
which I think is really fascinating.
It's kind of
to
like
think
how
of.
the Twi'lek do the Kalikori.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. It's like the Kalikori, where
Mm-hmm.
you add upon it and tell about your family's history and all that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And then the Bith language, otherwise known as Bithian, is described as having a symbolic and numerical structure, but eventually it's separated from the numerical aspects and would be used as a coded communication among other Bith or even among agents of a rebel alliance later. So imagine it almost like, what was it? Why is it? It's at the very tip of my tongue. Morse code. That's what it's called. It's almost, think of it almost like Morse code, their language.
Okay.
I
I remember trying that.
yeah.
Trying to do that at like a science fair or something. Nah.
Fair enough. But I think I read a great video. I watched a great video about the Bith, where their language is almost symbolic, almost like a thieves' cant.
Oh, okay.
Almost like thieves' cant, because as I think Jake said, that thieves' cant is basically normal speech, but it's disguised.
Yeah,
as that.
exactly. It's normal talking, but just so you don't look suspicious.
Pretty much. Like, I think one example I remember from the lore master of what the Bith language would be and why it's such a good coded communication among the Rebel Alliance. For example, if a Rebel agent goes to a Bith and asks where their partner is, the guy will be like, oh, he's a little bit under the weather. It could be decoded to he's right near a statue of a weather god at nighttime. That sort of thing. It's just this coded language and everything.
Okay.
Kind of complex to think about, but it's really smart.
Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Yeah. The Bith are known, we'll go a little bit in their history. The Bith are known as one of the galaxy's most ancient civilizations, where their technological prowess gained the respect of the Gree themselves.
Wow.
As you recall in some episodes previously, the Gree are like the most ancient race in all of Star Wars. They even
Aside from the Rakata.
Yeah, they actually predate the Rakata.
Wow. And the Gree are mentioned every so often in SWTOR.
Yeah. Like, I think there's
They're
like a...
weird.
They're weird, but I think there's like a important side storyline on Coruscant where you have to talk to one of their droid representatives, because a lot of the machines on Coruscant was made by the Gree.
Yeah, they don't speak normal. They don't speak normally.
Yeah.
They speak in like yellow parallel, purple parallel,
Yep.
something rhombus. It's weird.
It is very weird.
But it makes sense to them.
It makes sense to them, and, you know, they're also kind of pompous douchebags because, oh, we're the most ancient race in the galaxy. We're the wise men who have explored the stars. You guys are just basically caveman with sticks and everything.
Assholes.
But, yeah, they're kind of like the Chiss, but
assholes.
Yeah, but assholes. Even bigger assholes compared to the Chiss anyway. But when you gain the respect of those kinds of people, you know you're good with technology.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Eventually, the Clak'dor 7 would be discovered by the Republic at around 5,500 years before the Battle of Yavin via the Rima trade route. And its sector of space, over the millennia, would be under the control of numerous Sith factions, including the Brotherhood of Darkness, which is the faction that Darth Bane was a part of before he, killed all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Clak'dor 7 would remain as a steadfast ally of the Republic, gaining a seat within the Galactic Senate following the extinction of the Sith, quote-unquote.
Quote-unquote.
This is where it gets a little bit more interesting for the Bith in their history. At around 300 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Bith city-states of Nazho and Wilgar engaged in a competition of who will be getting the patent rights to create a new innovative hyperdrive that would be sold to other planets within the Republic.
Nice.
which is a pretty huge deal because if you recall from our previous episode, go watch that episode. Having your own hyperdrive is super duper important.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I haven't watched the movie myself, but you recall that movie, Ford versus Ferrari. I haven't watched the movie myself, but I heard it's pretty good.
Ford versus Chevy is actually a video game.
Oh, yeah.
Weird concept for a video game.
Yeah. As is Bith tradition, both cities submitted a patent claim to a neutral arbitrator. You know, standard competition stuff, everything like that. Though one of the agent representing Nazo found unsavory info on the arbitrator, they basically blackmailed him into picking them instead.
Ooh, so the Bith they're smart.
Yeah.
They can use blackmail.
I'm just picturing, like, I mean, in real life, it's probably something like, oh, he did some corrupt political deal or something like that. In my head, I'm just thinking, oh, what we got here in your search history? No, don't look for my search history. What is... there was this Five Nights at Freddy's meme that I remember watching a while ago, where Springtrap is all like, "Let me look for your search history, Greg." And he's like, "What the fuck?"
It's just the search history memes are always funny.
They are always a laugh, man. However, the arbitrator was blackmailed into picking the city-state of Nazo. However, the mayor of their rivals, Wolgar, had received intelligence of a blackmail and didn't see the decision as legitimate and continued production of their own hyperdrive. Mm-hmm. So, in response to this, Nazo also started their own hyperdrive.
Of course, we gotta be better.
We gotta be better. And eventually this little rivalry kept going on and on, where they try upping the other. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we're doing this faster. We're almost at the deadline. Oh,
typical rivalry.
Yeah, typical rivalry. And it will eventually be stuff like cutting corners, do political corruption to slow down the other, supply... sabotaging,
yada, yada.
That sort of thing. However, after a year of this tense little rivalry and a standoff, let's just say shit escalated. So,
that escalated quickly.
It escalated quickly, and you'll see why. After the full standard year of neither city-state being able to trump over the other, Nazo decided to unleash chemical weapons on their rival.
Oh.
And this...
Yay, war crimes!
And this resulted in this chemical bombing of their city-state rivals.
Oh, God.
This chemical attack killed up to 90% of the city's population.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Wheelgar, wanting to take revenge against their rivals, also unleashed their own bioweapons against them.
Yay!
And they did it. It doesn't exactly go into detail, obviously, but it went into detail that they unleashed their own bioweapons, and on top of that, several nuclear weapons, too.
Yeah, that went from 0 to 100 real fast.
Yeah, pretty much. And with this little civil war, not only were they able to completely destroy their rivals, the Nazo, but it also completely fucked up the ecosystem of their world.
Well, no shit.
Yep.
Using fucking nuclear weapons.
And it transformed the swamps and forests of their homeworld into a poisoned and mutated wasteland.
Their own fault. Excuse me.
Their planet, now forever changed. The Bith were forced to retreat into sealed cities and depended on imported goods and machinery to keep their society functioning.
Sucks. You gotta face the consequences of your actions.
Yeah, they basically got the Mandalore treatment.
Yeah. Or the Ritaki treatment.
Yeah. In the aftermath of this devastating civil war, a new subspecies of Bith was created from the surviving inhabitants of Nozo, the city that started this shit to begin with. Mm-hmm. And these guys would be called the Yibith, or more commonly, the Ghost Bith.
Okay.
And I'll actually send pictures of these guys too. These guys are like horribly mutated monsters. Like, you know those standard sci-fi movies where they show mutated humanoids and everything?
Yeah.
That's basically the Bith version of these guys.
Ooh. That's creepy.
Yeah, they have...
It's like the thing from the Black Lagoon, the creature from the
Yeah.
Black Lagoon, but blow his head up.
Yeah, it
like a
looks...
balloon.
He got a lot of air to the head. But yeah, the Yibith would have such genetic irregularities that they would have poorer eyesight and senses than regular Bith, but they had a higher strength and higher aggression.
Nice.
Yeah, the Yibith were looked down upon by their brethren, not only for the actions of their ancestors, but also for their appearance, something shared by much of the galaxy. Eventually, the Yibith would leave the ruins of Nozo and Clak'dor 7 entirely, settling on a different planet called Clak'dor 4, where they would eventually build New Nuzo, which became a prominent trade hub. Though despite their differences, the Yibith grew this sense of shame of what they have done to their ancestors' culture and basically nuking their world back to the Stone Age and everything.
Oof.
And for that, they have this huge sense of shame and penance. Like, their entire culture is basically directed towards gaining acceptance from their pure cousins. Because they wanted to, redeem themselves. Like, yes, I'm sorry that our ancestors obliterated our shared culture, but I want to prove myself to you. I want to prove that we could rebuild and reunite our races together, that sort of thing. However, while the Bith tolerated their mutated cousins at best, they didn't openly accept them, citing the volatile biochemistry of the Yibith as the reason for their apprehension. But a lot of people like to say that they don't like their cousins because of the shit that they did to their home planet.
It kind of sounds like the Duros and the Nemoidians.
Oh yeah, exactly like that. Except that the Nemoidians actually wanted acceptance from their cousins. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a tragic history for the Bith right off the bat. After that violent civil war, the culture of the Bith would change forever, with many off-world Bith experiencing losing a home without it physically being gone.
That sucks.
Yeah. This inspired the entire grief-stricken race to embrace pacifism, with many members using their civil war as a cautionary tale on the futility of violence.
Makes sense.
I
could see that's what Satine was trying to do.
Yeah, pretty much. Like many Bith senators, they would always oppose military action. Like, they would basically move in a bill where they want everybody to be disarmed of all weapons and everything like that, because they don't want any other race to go through what they did in the past. Like, these little squabbles between cities, between factions, and their fucked up homeworld from a result of misusing technology. They don't want that to happen to the rest of the galaxy. And on top of that, the reason why they went through a state of pacifism is not because, it's part of their culture. It's because they are, I wouldn't say literally, but figuratively tired of war.
Okay.
So for a race that really can't get tired, they get tired of war really, really well. And this inspired them to pursue other things that, don't engage in war and everything. And Bith, ironically enough, they are a race that don't engage in the arts or musicians or anything like that. But in the aftermath of this civil war and pursuing a life of pacifism, many Bith would become musicians because it is a great distraction from the shithole that is their homeworld.
Yeah. So that's why they're always in cantinas.
Yeah. They do not have. This is one thing I absolutely love about the Bith, because each race has their thing. Like, each Hutt is a gangster. Each Nemodian is greedy.
Each Zeltron's a slut.
Yeah, pretty much. For the Bith, they are insanely smart engineers.
That's cool.
And yes, they do a lot of engineering shit, but they're more famous for being musicians.
That's cool.
And they're not specifically gifted in the musical arts, but they are still remembered as musicians.
Yeah, they're very dexterous with their fingers, so of course they can play instruments well.
Which I absolutely love, and it goes against the usual stereotype of many Star Wars races.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Even in their homeworld of Clak'dor 7, the Bith have what is called the Purgholm Musical Performance Hall in their capital of Wogar, and I'll quickly send that to you too. Basically, you remember the concert hall on Coruscant in Episode 3?
Oh yeah, the opera house.
Pretty much. That's basically the Bith's version of the opera house. Like, a lot of Bith like to go there and do performing of the arts or and anything like that, but they allow off-worlders to come in. No strand of music is off limits for them. Like, they enjoy all sorts of musical instruments.
That's cool.
And you know how, like, in the real world we have what was it, Mongolian of throat singing? They would absolutely love that shit.
I have a song that I need to show you that is Mongolian.
Yeah.
Basically Mongolian throat singing.
Yeah, I would love to listen to that sometime. But yeah, I just sent the picture. Like, there's, as you can see in that image, there's 2 Bith and a Gamorrean
I was gonna
singer.
say, that's... Oh god, female Gamorreans do have boobs.
You learn something new every day.
That's so cool, though.
It is pretty cool.
It almost reminds me of the diva from The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
That whole setting.
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right, yeah.
Best fucking scene of a movie ever.
I vaguely remember watching that as a kid. I need to watch Fifth Element again.
Watch it again. It's so good. Such a good movie.
Yeah, it is so good. Let me see. Though despite their new approach with pacifism, their tragedy would constantly fall upon deaf ears to many corrupt senators within the Republic, to the point that the Bith grew disillusioned with the Republic, especially when they ignored their pleas for financial support for centuries.
Of course. Fucking Republic.
When the Separatist crisis happened, the Confederacy promised the Bith that they could provide the needed supplies and aid to their people, and which caused Clak'dor 7 to secede from the Republic and join the Separatists.
Did it turn out good for them?
Well, kind of, but here's a quote between...
Hey, at least Count Dooku didn't fuck over their planet.
At least, didn't exactly do great for them when the Empire came along, though. But you could understand their reasonings. As you remember from the Confederacy episode. But anyway, so here's a nice little quote between Anakin and a member of the Bith race when he was interrogating them. You're on the wrong side of this war, your entire species. Clak'dor 7 had little choice. The Separatists were offering unrestricted access to hyperspace routes, better deals on trade goods. No interference.
Fair.
Yep.
Very fair.
While the Bith provided no military aid to the Separatists, they were heavily persecuted by the Empire.
Of course, because they're aliens.
Yep. Though they did not resist the rule of the Empire, instead offering their technological expertise at the service of the Imperial war machine.
Nice.
Though as time went on, the Bith were horrified by the Empire, and despite their experiences with the horrors of war and pacifist nature, they reluctantly sided with the Rebel Alliance. Though they were once again reminded of what terrible cost of war came with through the destruction of Alderaan.
Oof. Yep.
I mean, yeah, I could kind of give that, but at least they still have their planet.
Yeah, they still have their planet. Alderaan got fucked.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of asteroids in space now.
Oof.
Many Bith agents would use their race's reputation as musicians and go undercover within bands, while utilizing musical instruments called digital flutes that would conceal recording equipment.
That's smart.
It is so cool, yeah.
That's a good idea.
I would love to hear a story of one of these undercover agents does, classic mariachi stuff and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Being a species of pacifists, the Bith worked alongside the galaxy as engineers, either as data analysts or in other intellectual professions. Most Bith use their intelligence and natural dexterity to work in the criminal underworld, while others commonly work as cantina staff. Given that bartenders in Bith society held a position that is the equivalent in many ways to priests in other cultures. Bith have an average number of Force users among their race, like humans and everything like that. But they do have a long-standing tradition of sending their Force-sensitive members to join the Jedi, with many members mostly serving as Jedi consulars, who
That's
are the
cool.
ones that, study the Force and everything.
You never see one, though. I haven't seen one yet.
Nah. Probably not in SWTOR, but who knows. There are notable members of the Bith race, such as I don't have any pictures for most of these guys. There's Bithebis, the Mystifier, who is a Bith stage magician who became famous across the galaxy for his performances at the hologram Fun World's Asteroid Theater.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm not sure what tricks he does as a stage magician, but I gotta imagine they are pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Another is Farquo Benet, a female Bith who worked as an assistant to Umbra the Hutt, who was described as having a much kinder disposition than most Hutts, but she still didn't have a high opinion of her employer. There is Mr. Teslian, a Bith who is a Rebel Alliance agent working undercover as an art dealer, who frequented many art galleries with his main job liberating cultural art pieces that the Empire stole, basically.
That's cool.
And either A, bringing them back to the world that they were stolen from, or B, selling it on the black market.
Oh.
The first one was to get diplomatic, more diplomatic aid from that planet because, you returned our most valuable art piece. We're going to be your buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Or for the black market, just get more funds for the Rebel Alliance to use. And then there is Harrian Angry, who is a female Bith starfighter pilot who flew for the New Republic and has her own personal X-Wing. And she became a member of Rogue Squadron. I know Rogue Squadron doesn't mean much to you, but it's basically the Red Barons of the Rebel Alliance and later the New Republic. It's the one that Wedge Antilles leads.
Cool.
So let me send a picture of her. She looks pretty cool. She's basically a Bith with glasses.
Goggles, more
Goggles,
like.
yeah. The reason why she has those goggles is because, she's nearsighted. She needs those.
Yeah. Especially if you're flying a fucking X-Wing.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be nearsighted.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, she doesn't last too long. She went on one mission, and she was crippled and had to be grounded for a little while.
Oof.
But there was an important attack, and she basically stole one of her companion's X-Wing fighters, and she sacrificed herself by ramming the X-Wing into a Sith temple that was causing trouble.
Oh, shit.
So, good on you. Good on you. And then there's a major member, Genyor, who is a renowned Bith painter, poet, and sculptor, who has been through the final years of a republic working for the government as a propagandist. Mm-hmm. Through his work, he supported its soldiers and believed in the words of Palpatine and the disownment of the evil of Count Dooku the Separatists.
Good on him.
Unfortunately, though, I could imagine, I know it doesn't go much into his story, but I imagine he isn't exactly looked upon favorably upon his people.
Probably not.
Because, they joined the Separatists and everything. But yeah, and even after Palpatine became Emperor, he remained loyal to the Empire because in his mind, he does believe that a singular person is the only way that could ensure a galaxy will be led into economic prosperity and security throughout the galaxy and everything. But as time went on, he saw the Empire for what it is.
Good.
And eventually, he protested with his own paintings and everything.
Cool.
Like, he made several statues. His painting was actually what inspired Sabine Wren.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like, there's an episode of Rebels where Lando Calrissian is at the Ghost. And he's like, oh, that's a very nice graffiti style. Reminds me of so-and-so. And Sabine Wren basically confirmed, yeah, it was inspired by so-and-so.
I still need to watch Rebels, even though I really don't want to because I'm going to criticize it the whole time.
I'm sure you will. Season 1, it's a little bit child-friendly in the beginning, but it gets really good near the end of the season.
I remember it was on Disney XD, and that was aimed towards kids.
Fair enough. And then eventually, because of his, his anti-Empire art pieces, he was obviously exiled by the Empire.
Well, yeah.
And
I'm surprised he wasn't killed.
Well, he was exiled, so a light sentence for him, actually. Eventually, he would be approached by the New Republic as a propagandist, getting his old job. And eventually, he would lead an effort to explain the true state of the Empire. Even though it was meant to counter lies being circulated by the Imperial propaganda, he was ultimately forced to create his own lies of a New Republic. Like, we always like to joke that the characters in Rebels weren't exactly innocent. Because,
Not Chopper, at
Not
least.
Chopper. But yeah, that's like a majority of what the new Rebel Alliance is because, they're terrorists. They blew up the Death Star, killing a lot of innocent people, blah, 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 blah. As a propagandist, yeah, you got to do a lot of lying to get your point across and everything. But even though he's spreading all these lies and disowning the Empire, he is hoping one day that in order to balance out these lies, one good truth would come out of the New Republic.
Did it?
Eventually it did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's that guy. Amongst the Jedi, there is Erwin. I'm going to try and pronounce his name. Anna Oro, a Jedi Knight who served during the Cold War, which is the main event of SWTOR and everything. Yeah. And was one that found out about Dark Jedi Kalioth, who is the Nautolan from the Jedi Knight story.
Oh, right.
He was the one that instigated the Flesh Raiders to fight against the Jedi and everything.
That's how much I cared about the Jedi Knight story.
So yeah,
remember that.
So yeah, he was just a Bith Padawan that helped out with the hero of Typhon and dealing with that crisis. He eventually became a Jedi Knight, and I believe by the time of the Eternal Empire, he became a Jedi Master.
I still have yet to play the expansions on my Knight. I'm playing through on my consular.
Next, however, we got arguably the most famous of Bith, Darth Tenebris.
Oh, Plagueis' master.
Yep.
Okay, I've learned a little bit about him. Not much.
Yeah. Just to send a picture of him to you, if you haven't seen his canonical picture already.
There's the picture. Oh my god.
Yep.
Even with the mask, his face looks ugly.
Fair enough. So what?
See where Vader got his inspiration for his armor.
Yeah. So what do you exactly know about Darth Tenebris?
Only that he was Plagueis' master.
Okay, fair enough. Nothing else?
That is all.
Okay, fair enough. So this obviously we gotta one day talk about the Darth Plagueis novel because that goes much more into detail, and I don't want to spoil everything while we're talking about the Bith and everything. But yeah, Darth Tenebris is the master of Darth Plagueis. He was a scientific mastermind that possessed that was obsessed with shaping the future, not through the Force, but through Bith's science, essentially making the Force obsolete.
Oh, wow.
So essentially his idea is like, if everybody depends on machines for their everyday living, much like my race did with a computer mating service, we will have no need for the Force anymore.
So he was kind of like Kreia.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't want to need the Force. She wants to destroy the Force completely.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So
But,
same kind of inspiration and goal.
Pretty much. He is also a legendary artisanal starfighter designer, and I think he was the one that designed Darth Maul's personal fighter, the Scimitar.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a pretty cool ship.
it is a pretty cool ship. So freaking good. Let me see if I could. Yeah, the point is, Darth Tenebris, he's an uber important character. Trained Darth Plagueis in the way of the Force and the Sith and all that. The grand plan and everything.
He doesn't sound more like a Sith, though.
Yeah.
He sounds like more neutral.
A little bit neutral.
Since, he doesn't want to have to rely on the Force.
I think it's just he's a very logical person and everything. Like, a lot of Bith are very logical. Mm-hmm. I think it's his way of giving the middle finger to the Force so that they could actually make the Jedi Order themselves obsolete.
Oh, but look what Plagueis did.
Yeah.
He basically said, fuck you, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah, I'm going to pursue the arts of metachlorians and everything like that. But yeah, Darth Tenebris, even though he appears... Oh yeah, Darth Tenebris actually made Darth Plagueis through eugenics.
Really?
Yeah, he was the one that pushed Darth Plagueis' father and mother together.
Damn, so he was old.
Yep.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I will breed my perfect apprentice!
I will bring my perfect apprentice through Bith's science. Okay. This woman, she's gifted in the Force. This guy, he's a banker, so that'll be fine. Together. Obviously, I'll go more into depth when we eventually talk about the Darth Plagueis novel. Take a shot.
Go on the list.
But yeah, that aside, let us talk a little bit about Bith bands. Uh-huh. So, obviously, Bith are famous across the galaxy for their musicians. If you ever see a band in Star Wars, a good amount of them are just purely Bith. Mm-hmm. But a couple of them at least have one Bith member in them.
Yeah.
Like the one in the cantina in New Hope and everything. Mm-hmm. Those guys are called Thegrinda, Thegrindan, and the Model Nodes. That's the band that plays the cantina music in A New Hope.
Nice. And
that cantina music in Universe is called Mad About Me.
Interesting.
So yeah, that entire...
Even though the rest of the fandom just calls it the cantina music.
Pretty much, yeah. In Universe, it's called Mad About Me. God, that music is so nostalgic whenever I played the original Lego games.
I mean, hell, on the original album, or, when you look up the song, it's Cantina Band.
Yeah.
That is what it's called.
And each member have their own unique story and everything, their own personality quirks, but I won't go into that for now. As a general rule for the band, they would absolutely refuse to perform at weddings, as the leader of the band believed it would cheapen them.
Really?
Yep.
Nothing's wrong with playing at a wedding.
Though one exception they made, during a wedding of the infamous crime lord Lady Valoran, it would end in disaster.
Oh.
And that pretty much enforced their their one rule. Like, this exception we made, it ended in absolute disaster. Let us not do that again.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's actually a picture of that incident in the chat. That'll be the last one, I promise.
Oh, it looks like it. It looks like the Red Wedding.
Yeah, you're like, oh crap! What did I tell you about accepting this job?
Anyway,
yeah, and another one is a band called the Dewback Ramblers.
Dewback Ramblers. Interesting.
Yeah. And the Biffs, if you see any picture of a Biff with any kind of instrument, they're usually holding this saxophone-looking instrument. It's called a clue horn. They, like every single band I came across, there is a Biff playing a clue horn. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, there's one in
That's
the
an
Max...
emote you can play on SWTOR.
Yeah. There is one Biff in the Max Rebo band, which is the band that played for Jabba in Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And most of these other bands, I just found names for them, and they all exist in SWTOR. There's a Biff in the Load Lifters. There's a couple Biff in the Paradise Planet. And the Twisted Rancor Trio. Mm-hmm. We gotta do Star Wars bands one of these days, because there is a good amount of them on the list, because I was going through it, and there's literally a band called the Palpatoons.
The Palpatoons. Now I need to go to every cantina I can find on every planet and look at each band.
Yeah. There's even one on Dromund Kaas, which is just an all droid band.
Well,
so
of course,
cool.
they don't like aliens.
But I do like the fact that even Dromund Kaas, the literal capital of the Sith themselves, they just have a nice little band just playing for
band,
them.
even if it's not Bith.
Yeah, exactly. And then... Oh yeah, there's another band called Boba Fett and the Assassin Droids.
That's cool.
I think there's like a little lore thing, I could be wrong, where Boba Fett actually sues them for the name.
Like, no using my name without my permission.
Yeah, and the main band that plays the cantina music, yes, that is Jizz, just to give you an idea.
Yes, it's called Jizz.
Jizz. J-I-Z-Z. Yes, Jizz. Look up in the Star Wars Encyclopedia. You'll see that it's called Jizz.
But to clarify, it is music. It is not what you are thinking.
Yeah, it's basically
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, it's basically the Star Wars version of jazz.
Yes.
And I do like to think...
you can hear that it takes elements from jazz.
Oh yeah, just... But yeah, that's basically all I have on the Biv. What do you think?
Hey, I learned something about a very obscure race, so
Yeah.
that's cool.
I do like the tragedy behind them. Like, they are uber smart scientists. Obviously, they have like a near utopian society where they want to unite. They have a little bit of a supremacy complex because, they're mutated cousins. Mm-hmm. They don't like them that much because of what they did to their people in the past.
Yeah.
But they do have a good amount of tragedy to them as well. Mm-hmm. Like, the very reason why they became famous as musicians is because they want to forget about their warmongering past and everything.
Hey, at least it led into something positive for the race.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I always appreciate races that don't have a particular hat to them, that they just adopt another skill, and that's what they're most famous for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so yeah, that's our episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi? Or in this case, how many times will I mention jizz?
I wanted to say that movie I was talking about with Antonio Banderas was called Desperado.
Oh yeah, Desperado.
Such a good movie.
It is so good. I want to watch that again one of these days. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you have any lingering thoughts, Hannah?
Nope, not really.
All right. You want to know what our next episode's going to be about?
Please tell me.
So, it's been nice talking about the Biff, but since we mentioned hyperspace a little while ago, we will be exploring one of the many innovators of said hyperspace. We will be talking about Corellia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the planet of Corellia, the home world of Han Solo.
Yeah, Corellia is a good planet to cover.
It is a really good and a lot more lore than the previous ones.
Very lore heavy.
Oh boy.
I mean, just in SWTOR alone. And that's just one part of the media.
Yeah, with a green Jedi and everything.
Yep.
But yeah, I hope...
You have fun with that research.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. Yeah, I'm always the one who has to put this on my shoulders, but yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little episode. Appreciate if you leave a comment and a like and all of that. Wish your parents
Your fathers.
Your father. Happy Father's Day, even if it's a little bit late when this video gets uploaded. Just show them that you appreciate them and everything. Otherwise, hope you guys are having a wonderful rest of your day, and may you live long and prosper.
This is the way.
This is the way. Bye-bye.
Bye.